This is Leo the Lion, King of the Jungle. To the best of my knowledge, nobody has made a video on this. It's only been logged 400 times on Letterboxd and has 9 reviews on IMDb. And this movie was released on July 20th, 1994. That is exactly 1 month and 6 days after the release of Disney's The Lion King. Kinda sus. So first, let's talk about who made this movie, and then I'm gonna break it down and we're gonna figure out what is it like? So Jetlag Productions was the American-Japanese studio who made Leo the Lion. However, the big baddie villain in this story is a company known as Good Times Entertainment. And this is a very slippery slope into a very deep rabbit hole, so I'm gonna try to keep it brief, but basically from the mid-80s up until their bankruptcy in 2005, Good Times Entertainment distributed catalogs, boatloads worth of these cheaply made knockoff movies. Oftentimes their movies would be based on movies from big budget studios, and then they would title them with similar titles and release them around about the same time as those movies. And it sounds like it should be illegal, but the reason that they were able to keep doing this was because a lot of these big budget animated films that they were based on themselves were adapted from works that were already in the public domain. Still, this didn't stop Disney from suing Good Times in 1993. And the result of that was that Good Times were then required to print their name on the front of all future releases. And as you can see in my relic here, Good Times Entertainment right at the top there. So I wanted to see who owned the rights to these movies now. Turns out that in 2005, Good Times assets were acquired by a company known as GAIM. I think that's how it's said. I'm not quite sure. Essentially, they are an American media company, and quote, "The service has been criticized and deplatformed from social media platforms, including Facebook and YouTube, for hosting videos promoting vaccine misinformation and conspiracy theories about the Illuminati, UFOs, and Atlantis." The Wikipedia page is wild. I think there's a lot of meat on that bone, but I'm just gonna leave it at that because, once again, that's another rabbit hole. And with all the context, let's dive into Leo the Lion, King of the Jungle. But first, there's one thing I have to do. Somehow that was like even better than I remember it being. I don't know how this Leo the Lion movie is going to stack up against that, to be honest. And now it's time for Leo the Lion. Let's go. So this movie opens with a very, very inspired shot. And you can already tell just from a single still frame here, the discrepancy in quality between a $50 million Disney animation and a cheaply made mockbuster such as this. The animation is extremely choppy. And this side profile walking loop of animation, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, it probably makes up somewhere between 5 to 10% of the total runtime. Now the thing is, they can kind of get away with it when it's just the walking animation, but they also try this technique on some other actions in the movie. Some of these examples are just so incredibly jarring. And then we cut to a lion cub and his mother. They're chilling, having a good time, when all of a sudden these hunters approach and they shoot the mother. Little nitpick here, but how did the hunters not see the cub here? He's in their line of sight, no? And then we cut back to Leo, and there's that side profile walking animation loop again. So this lasts for about 10 seconds, and then he comes across a pair of monkeys who just start roasting him.
"You're doing a lousy job as king. A rotten job."
So being the experienced and mature leader that he is, Leo does the sensible thing. He takes on board their criticisms, he sort of reevaluates areas where he can improve the jungle and, you know, his leadership. And wait, sorry, those are the wrong notes. Sorry, instead he blows down their tree. So we cut back to the lion cub and he's tracked down the hunter's hideout. At this point, I thought they'd gone full Bambi and killed the mum. Turns out
it was just a dart. It put me to sleep.
We then overhear the hunters talking about the arrival of a Mr. Eastman who comes from the circus, and he will be there on Friday to pick up the lion.
"I just spoke to the circus. Mr. Eastman himself is coming."
"Is he bringing the money?"
"Every penny."
Meanwhile, the cub makes a failed attempt to free his mother, and he causes all of this noise, and that alerts the hunters, who then come after him. And honestly, this is probably the most lively and animated sequence in the entire film.
"He can run, but he can't hide."
Now, if there's one thing that we can all agree on, it's that the Lion King soundtrack is full of bangers. I Just Can't Wait to Be King, Hakuna Matata, The Circle of Life. And I guess that's what happens when you have Elton John and Hans Zimmer on your soundtrack. It's just full of bangers. This movie, on the other hand, the music is bizarre. Something is just off with the lyrics and the vocals, which is supposed to be reflecting the inner feelings of the character. And what makes it even more disorientating is that the footage that it's played over doesn't always match the emotion of the music.
Everyone's out to get me.
And then after this first musical number, the cub ends up walking into one of the hunter's traps, which, like, what are the odds of that? And these guys have to be in the running for the most generic bad guys of all time.
Well. What have we here?
And then just when things are about to turn bad, Leo the Lion enters the chat. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without that side walking animation loop again. And this time, And I'm no joke, this one lasts for 35 seconds. And for absolutely no reason other than to pad out the runtime on this thing. And then comes the most egregious example of Lion King thievery. It's the, you can copy my homework, but just change it up a bit. Except Jetlag Productions didn't not only not understand the homework, but they didn't understand what class they were taking. So in The Lion King, there's this reoccurring motif of the stars and how the great kings of the past are embodied within them. And then there's this very emotional scene between Mufasa and Simba, where Mufasa confronts Simba with the fact that he won't always be around, but he tells Simba that if he ever needs guidance, just to look up at the stars and he'll be there. And so in Leo the Lion, there is a scene between two lions looking up at the stars.
All those stars up there have names.
But that's about where the similarities end, because this scene lacks any of the substance or subtext that the Lion King scene has. That being said, this thing is iconic.
Well, if you look real close, you'll see a bunch of stars shaped like a lion, sort of walking, his nose pointed down.
I see it!
It almost gives you whiplash listening to Gary Chalk's delivery of this line as Leo directly after listening to James Earl Jones as Mufasa.
The great kings of the past look down on us from those stars.
You'll see a bunch of stars shaped like a lion, sort of walking.
And also, I paused and I investigated these stars. A lion sort of walking with his nose pointed down. I think that's a very generous interpretation. I think you could just overlay any image on these stars and it would still work, because that's kind of what they did. Soon afterwards, Leo learns that the cub doesn't have a name. Why this is the case, I'm not entirely sure. It's never quite explained.
I don't have one.
Oh, come on, everybody's gotta have a name.
How about Leo?
Oh, no way, I'll call you Tui. Happy?
Leo then spends the next day teaching Tui how to pounce, how to hunt, how to roar, and how to be a lion. But the real star of the show here is the bass lines. At some point, Leo skips this stone into this alligator's mouth. And to whoever decided to animate the single tear, I love your work. And so after a day of hard training, Leo and Tui stake out the hunter's hideout. We have the return of cookie cutter generic villain number 1.
By this time tomorrow, we'll be rich.
But they realize that if they want to bust out the animals, they're gonna need more help.
There are too many of them, kid. We need some help.
And so Leo holds a meeting with the fellow jungle dwellers. During this meeting, this happens. It still has me puzzled. And to the sound designers of this movie, the snake does not need to sound this moist.
Sorry, Sonny.
And then this giraffe proceeds to lay down the single hardest roast of all time.
A lot of our other friends have been captured too.
Your lack of awareness is exceeded only by your general lack of sensitivity.
After refusing to apologize for being such a dweeb, all of the animals ditch Leo, and even Tui turns against him.
Look what you did.
What'd I do?
I hate you.
Oh, come on, I'm not such a bad guy. Am I?
And this is the part where the movie completes the any % character arc speedrun, because it is immediately followed by a montage of Leo helping out all of the animals. This is also where we get the most iconic moment in the movie, which is the song, I'm a Really Nice Guy.
I'm a nice guy underneath.
Now, it's available in its entirety on YouTube, and you can look it up, but I need to warn you. I finished writing the script for this video yesterday. I woke up this morning, and this song was stuck in my head. I'm not joking. I just need you to know what you're getting yourself into. We cut back once again to our favorite piece of animation, and then all of the animals are on board for Leo's plan.
Are you with me?
Finally, we are introduced to Mr. Eastman from the circus, who undoubtedly has the best evil laugh of all time.
We thought you'd be happy, Mr. Eastman.
And then Mr. Eastman serves up the money that he's paying for the lion. And I have some questions about the money situation here.
47, 48, 49, 50,000 big one, as agreed.
50,000 big ones. So by the way that the money's being counted here, is it being insinuated that these are $1,000 notes? Because is that even a thing? And also, who counts money like this? He's just throwing it on the ground. This is not the optimal way to count money. The plan to break out the animals is then enacted.
Get the guns! Guns are gone!
And I just need to point this out, but this anteater lockpick is cursed. The hunters then board this raft to get away, but the animals stay right on their tail and they flip it over. And in the ensuing hecticness, my thought was, are the animals trying to kill the people here? Because it sure seems like it. But before the animals can celebrate, one last hurrah for the people because James Bellwether Eastman re-enters the chat.
Nobody outsmarts James Bellwether Eastman.
And what a class act, announcing not only his first and last, but also middle name before firing his gun. However, his etiquette would also be his downfall, as he sacrificed any element of surprise that he had, and by the time that he fires the gun, Tui has pounced him and saved the day. And I know that they need to pad out the runtime on this thing, but this sequence of people struggling lasts way too long. And then the movie wraps up with a round of celebrations. But before this ends, one more stroke of genius from Jetlag Productions, because they managed to stretch this thing out for another 6 minutes, but in the cheapest way possible. What they do is just reuse clips that you've already seen in the movie and layer a song over the top of it. Genius. And yeah, that's Leo the Lion. Absolutely fascinating. And because this is still a really small channel, any engagement, liking, commenting, subscribing helps out immensely. I'll be back hopefully sooner than later. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Garfield says goodbye.